Weren't you on the British diving team?
I was on the British team for almost 10 years. It was a silly thing. I got into it really late.
The medical reports show that years of extreme physical performance have put pressure on his spine, his joints, and his nervous system. Some of his old fractures have not healed Jason Statham. The tough action hero loved by millions is known for his strong body, calm face, and fearless attitude in every movie he does. But behind all the fights, jumps, car chases, and dangerous stunts, there's a painful truth that has recently come forward. In 2025, medical reports about him surprised many people around the world. These reports revealed how deeply his dangerous career has affected his body. For years, fans watched him jump from buildings, crash through windows, fight 10 men at once, and survive explosions in films. But what most people did not know is that Jason did almost all of his own stunts, without depending on stuntmen. This earned him great respect, but it also came with a very heavy cost. Doctors reported he suffered from broken ribs that healed unevenly, several serious concussions, and a wrist fracture that never fully recovered. His wife, Rosie Huntington Whiteley, became very worried. She finally demanded that he stop performing certain stunts, especially the ones involving high falls and fast vehicle chases. She revealed that doctors gave him a warning that frightened both of them. Jason's body can no longer take the damage it once did. The injuries have started to affect his sleep, his spine, and even his breathing during heavy workouts. What is heartbreaking is that Jason, a man who survived drowning during a film stunt, bestings on set, and countless fights in movies, is now facing an enemy he cannot punch or escape from. His body is aging, and the years of pushing himself beyond limits are beginning to show. This situation has left his fans shocked because people have always seen Jason Statham as unbreakable. But even the strongest heroes sometimes reach a point where strength alone is not enough to Tio understand how Jason reached this emotional and physical point. We must go back to his early life. Jason Statham was born on July 26, 1967, in a small English mining town called Shirebrook. It was a place where dreams were small and work was hard. Most people were miners, factory workers, or laborers. Life was not easy and money was always tight. Jason grew up watching his father, Barry Statham, work every job he could find. House painter, coal miner, street vendor, and even a lounge singer in the Canary Islands when work in England dried up. Barry was a survivor, a man who never complained, and Jason learned strength from him. His mother, Eileen Yates, was the opposite in some ways. She was a dancer who brought color and rhythm to their home. She performed in pubs and small clubs, bringing some light into their otherwise rough lifestyle. Together, they raised Jason and his brother Lee in an environment that taught creativity and toughness at the same time. Even though the family struggled financially, they worked together like a small team. They sang together, practiced music, and supported each other through difficult days. When Jason was 10 years old, the family moved to Great Yarmouth, a tourist town near the sea. There, Jason watched his father sell items in open markets. It was fast, competitive, and unpredictable work. Jason learned how to read people, how to stay focused, and how to keep calm even when things got tough. These moments shaped his personality, the toughness, the quick reactions, the confidence. But instead of staying in the market life, Jason turned to martial arts. He trained in karate, kickboxing, and Chinese martial arts. Later he added Muay Thai, Judo, Krav Maga, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Martial arts gave him discipline, balance, and a sense of control, something his unpredictable home life sometimes lacked. This foundation eventually became the key to his future career. That Jason's teenage years were filled with physical training and hard work. Besides martial arts, he also played football and learned teamwork, strategy, and discipline. But one of the biggest parts of his young life was diving. At age 12, he joined Great Britain's National Diving Training Program and trained for 12 long years. He competed in the 1990 Commonwealth Games, performing dives from 1 meter, 3 meter, and 10 meter platforms. He didn't win any medals, but his experience built his incredible balance and body control, skills that later helped him do his own movie stunts. Jason admitted years later that starting his diving career late made competition very hard, but the effort shaped his future. During his training years, he also worked part-time on the streets with his father, selling fake perfume and cheap jewelry. It was not glamorous work, but it taught him confidence and communication skills, which helped him in auditions later. In the mid-1990s, he got into modeling. Brands like Tommy Hilfiger and Levi's hired him, but the pay was low and the jobs didn't last long. His life changed when director Guy Ritchie discovered him. Ritchie needed an actor who could play a street-smart hustler, someone real, not a polished actor pretending. Jason was perfect for the role. His performance in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels opened the door to a new life. 2 years later, he starred in Snatch, earning more attention. But even then, he did not use stuntmen. He performed real punches, real falls, and real chase scenes. He got bruised, cut, and hurt, but he kept pushing. He believed that action actors should feel the real danger on screen. Little did he know that this belief would one day become the cause of some of his biggest health problems. Jason's big break came with The Transporter in 2002. This was a film that truly made him an international action star. But it was also the start of the injuries that would follow him for years. He trained intensely before filming. 2 months of martial arts preparation, diving practice, and car stunt training. When filming began, he threw himself into every scene. The famous oil fight scene is one example. Jason fought several attackers while covered in oil, making every move slippery and dangerous. He performed the scene 15 times, and by the end his ribs were badly bruised. The pain was so strong that he could barely breathe. The car chase scenes were even more dangerous. Instead of using stunt drivers, Jason insisted on driving at high speeds himself. He drifted around sharp turns, slid under trucks, and performed jumps that could have easily gone wrong. Producers begged him to stop, but he refused. He believed that fans deserved authenticity. This became his signature style for years. From Crank to Death Race, from Fast and Furious to the Expendables, Jason pushed his body to the absolute limit. He jumped from buildings, fought in burning rooms, and even hung from moving helicopters. Every film left him with new injuries, strained muscles, new bruises, cracked bones, and damaged joints. But he always returned to work. He never slowed down because he didn't want to disappoint his fans or break the image he had built. Unfortunately, the pressure he placed on himself is now catching up with him. Doctors explain that repeated injuries, especially concussions and fractures, can create long-term health risks. This news hit Jason very hard. For the first time, he had to consider stepping back. And that is heartbreaking for a man who built his entire life on toughness and physical power. Now, in 2025, Jason Statham is facing one of the hardest challenges of his life. Not an enemy in a movie, not a dangerous stunt, but his own body sending warning signs. Correctly, causing pain during training. His doctor warned that another major injury could lead to permanent damage. This news shocked Jason, but it broke Rosie even more. She admitted in an interview that she is scared every time her phone rings while he's shooting an action scene. Jason is known for his bravery, but this situation is forcing him to rethink everything. He is now considering reducing his stunt work and focusing more on safer roles or even directing. Fans around the world are sending him messages of love and support, telling him that his health is more important than action scenes. The heartbreaking truth is that even heroes must eventually slow down. But slowing down does not mean losing strength. Jason Statham's life story is proof of resilience. He came from a poor mining town, worked in markets, trained for years, failed many times, and still became one of the world's top action stars. Today, his journey continues, but with a new challenge. This time, he must protect himself, not fight others. And while the news is heartbreaking, it also reminds us that Jason Statham is human. Strong, determined, brave, but still human. His fans stand with him, hoping he chooses a healthier path forward, so he can continue inspiring millions without endangering his life. Because no stunt, no scene, and no film is worth losing a hero like him that Jason Statham entered the later years of his career. The pressure on his body became heavier, and the public finally began to see the real cost of the dangerous life he had been living for decades. For years, fans had admired him for performing every jump, punch, fall, and risky stunt without using a double. But while viewers enjoyed the action on screen, very few understood the hidden injuries that were slowly affecting behind the scenes. Doctors who examined him in recent years revealed that his spine, shoulder joints, and ribs had all taken long-term damage. Several old fractures never healed correctly because he returned to work too quickly each time. Even the small injuries he ignored in his youth had grown more serious with age. His wife, Rosie Huntington Whiteley, began noticing changes, stiffness, slower movement, and sharp pain during simple tasks. Jason always tried to hide discomfort, but years of stress had finally caught up with him. Doctors warned him that if he continued doing high-impact stunts, he could permanently damage parts of his body, especially his back and left wrist. The man who once dove confidently from 10-meter platforms and fought 10 stunt performers without hesitation now faced limits he never imagined. His biggest fear was not the pain, but losing the ability to do the thing he loved most, physical acting. For Jason, action was not just a job, it was his identity. Hearing that he might have to step back from certain stunts felt like losing a part of himself. Rosie begged him to slow down, reminding him that their children needed a healthy father more than Hollywood needed another extreme stunt. For the first time, Jason had to make a choice between his career and his long-term health, and it was a painful, emotional decision. The heartbreaking news did not come from a sudden accident, but from a long, serious evaluation by a team of sports medicine specialists who studied his injury history. They discovered that Jason had multiple microfractures in his rib cage, some dating back more than 20 years. These fractures had healed in uneven ways, creating weak points that could easily break again with strong impact. His wrist, which he fractured during an early stunt fight, had healed incorrectly and now pressed against a nerve that caused numbness in 2 fingers. Doctors told him that another hard fall or strong twist could cause permanent nerve damage. Even his spine showed signs of compression from years of high jumps, heavy lifting, and car chase stunts. They explained that while Jason looked strong on the outside, his internal injuries showed the truth of a man who had spent a lifetime taking hits. What scared him most was when a specialist warned him that if he continued doing dangerous stunts without proper rest, he could eventually lose mobility in part of his lower back. These words hit him harder than any punch he had taken on set. Jason knew pain very well, but this time the fear was deeper. He did not want to become someone who could not run, jump, or train ever again. As he sat quietly listening to the doctors, Rosie held his hand tightly. She had always admired his strength, but she also saw the hidden hurt he rarely showed others. She asked the doctor a question Jason never wanted to hear. Is he at risk in the future if he keeps working this way? The answer was yes. Hearing that made Jason feel a mix of fear and frustration. He had built his entire career on toughness, and now that same toughness was threatening his well-being. It was a moment that forced him to rethink everything. His career, his responsibilities as a father, and the future he wanted to build. As news of his condition quietly spread through Hollywood, directors and producers began to worry too. Jason had always been the actor they trusted to perform intense action scenes, but his health report made him consider new approaches. Some directors offered to bring in stunt doubles, something Jason never liked doing. He believed that audiences could always tell the difference when a stunt double was used, and he wanted the action to feel real. But now, studios insisted on protecting him, especially after seeing the medical reports. Jason felt torn. On one hand, he wanted to keep giving his fans the energy and realism he was known for. On the other hand, he understood that one wrong move could end his career permanently. Rosie encouraged him to think long-term. She reminded him of the sacrifices he had already made, broken ribs, head injuries, and more than a dozen untreated sprains. She wanted him to stay active well into his older years, not become someone who struggled to move at 65. Friends in the industry, including actors he had worked with for years, told him that accepting help did not make him weak. In fact, it made him wise. Slowly, Jason began to accept the idea of balancing his physical work. He agreed to let stunt professionals handle the most dangerous falls and high-impact sequences, but he refused to step away from martial arts. Training had always been part of his identity, something that grounded him and kept him disciplined. He simply adjusted his routines so they were safer. Instead of heavy sparring, he began focusing more on flexibility, balance, and recovery exercises. Learning to slow down was difficult for him, but he realized it was necessary. Jason understood that becoming a father had changed him more than anything else. Now, his goal was not just to be the strongest man on screen, but a healthy father who could grow old with his family. With his health becoming a central focus, Jason also started reflecting on his long journey from a small mining town to global fame. He thought about his childhood in Shirebrook, where survival was more important than dreams. Growing up around tough men who worked in coal mines or fought in underground gyms had shaped his view of strength.